morning and welcome. Patriot Radio News Hour, Joe and Jason here on this Thursday. Am I going to say a new all-time record high? Yes, it happened again yesterday. Spot gold breached $2,300 yesterday. Right now, gold's down $8. Closed at 22. We'll call it 22.95. Right now it's 22.94. Silver's up 15 cents, 27, almost 27 and a quarter. So silver just skipping 26 altogether. Gold really skipped 21 and 2,200 as once again. We're in this web, aren't we? Inflation. You know, I know Jay Powell doesn't want to admit it. He was talking again yesterday. Arthur Burns. I keep telling you, Arthur Burns, Jimmy Carter. That was kind of the head of the Fed and the president in the 70s, especially in the later 70s. Joe Biden and Jay Powell filling in those roles this time around. There are so many places to go. We got another great show lined up for you. Our toll-free number, 800-951-0592. If you're new, it's so easy. It's not complicated. You know you need to do it. And I get it. Well, gosh, I don't know. Because, you know, the TV thinks, wants you to think it's hard. It's not. Just call the number. Just tell the girls, hey, I'm new. They're going to help you out. You can always do what I think is highly recommended. Hey, I want the special. I'm new. I want the special. Why do you want the special? Well, because that's the best price. When you have the best price on things, that's always what you want to do. allamericangold.com is the website. And Jason, we had dubbed this year the year of chaos. It's lived up to this so far. And I think this is just the beginning. Overnight, the Biden administration now says, well, now we're not going to refill the strategic oil reserve, right? Because oil prices are too expensive at almost $86. That's not a good thing. It may help, I guess, today, oil's down 15 cents. Okay. But the realities are, like a lot of things in this world, what we're finding out is everything was built for perfection, right? If nothing bad happens, we've got just enough stuff to keep prices somewhat stable. And now we've realized, hey, guess what? Bad things happen. And now we've got prices exploding all over again, whether it's oil prices today, coffee and cocoa prices, chocolate prices. Now they're saying they're going to go even higher. They're already at all-time record highs. And now we're starting to hear the retailers, Saks and Peloton, unable to pay their bills. Ulta, the cosmetic store, saying, hey, sales have really fallen off. And then Olive Garden's CEO comes out and says, hey, listen, we're kind of finding out if you don't make at least $75,000, you're not going to Olive Garden. I mean, it's Olive Garden. I mean, that was, unlimited soup and salad. I mean, that always used to be, a middle-class staple. And I guess maybe that's what it is now. You're not middle class. If you're not making $75,000, you're not even middle class. And at $75,000, you may be low middle class.
After COVID, all those buffets shut down. There's hardly any buffet restaurants anymore. And it's because of the germs, But we're past it. Where are the buffets at? No, I don't think that's such a good idea. There is a few of them around, but it's not very cost effective in this inflated cycle, Renjo.
Yeah, it's just, right. Think about it. What do you put out there that you could? I mean, I guess you could have a buffet for $49.95, right? I mean, right?
Yes.
I mean, back in the day, you could get a buffet, and it was under $10. Now it's like, no, I mean, I don't know.
I wouldn't be surprised if a $40 buffet would probably work now. You know, the $39.99 buffet, come on, get all you can eat. Someone's going to do it. Someone's going to figure that one out, Joe. You might have just captured an idea right there.
See, that's yes, it's the buffet for the people that have a bunch of money out there. We'll have to watch and see how all of these things play out. But Jay Powell was talking yesterday and really drove prices higher, gold prices higher again, just not wanting to admit that inflation's coming back, still sticking to, hey, we're going to cut rates. We're going to do it this year. Don't pressure me on a day, right? Is it going to be June? Maybe it's not going to be. Jay's kind of been saying, hey, I don't know about June. It's probably going to be a little closer to the election. But for right now, Jay Powell doing what Jay Powell does. I'm going to ignore the actual data, and I'm going to look at all this old data and this, academic data on inflation that somehow says everything's okay. And I'm going to ignore what's right in front of me, just like he did in 2000. Could you imagine if he'd actually done his job in 2000, how much better off we'd be right now?
If he just didn't have a job, if we just didn't have the Fed, how much better would things be? Let's not employ that position any longer. Let's just let's wind that down instead of winding down their balance sheet. Let's just wind down the Fed. How about that? Then we don't have to worry about Fed meetings anymore.
Listen, that would be ideal. We can only hope that somehow, when we're through all of this, that is what is going to be the end game. But we'll be back right after the break. We had jobless claims out. Guess what? It wasn't 210,000. I'll leave you with that. Patriot Radio News Hour. We'll be back. 800-951-0592. The Dow's up 100. The S&P's up 30. The Nasdaq's up 100. A little over 100 plus. Crude oil, as I said, down 20 cents. 85.20 on news that the Biden administration isn't filling the strategic oil reserve. Didn't we call that too? Didn't we call that back when they were emptying it out? I'm like, they're not going to fill it up. That's not going to happen because there's just when you don't have enough supply of something, you don't, start putting more stuff away. And this is just, think about it. We're at all-time record high crude oil production right now. Most of it, I know Joe Biden will get the credit, but most of that from, I'll just say that was Trump policy that allowed for a lot more drilling. This ends at the end of this year, by the way, just so you know. The future for lower crude oil prices, at least in the next, let's call it the next year and a half, really are not very good. You saw it here in Arizona, 30-cent rise in gas prices overnight. The 10-year note, 4.35. So the 10-year note off just a little bit. Gold's down. Right now it's now down 80 cents, still at 22.94. Silver's up 19, 27.25. And again, the need for diversification is going to be crucial here. We've had this huge bubble run in stock. You can feel the bubble now, can't you? Can you feel it? Everyone's starting to feel it, aren't they? They're like, well, wait a minute. NVIDIA, maybe, AI's, it's great and everything, and it's going to do good stuff, but it's not ready for prime time anywhere close to now. How about Tesla? Have you seen? There's some analyst out there now saying that Tesla may be a $14 stock, right? If Tesla went to 14, they'd be bankrupt. They'd be out of business. And their numbers in the first quarter were terrible. This electric vehicle stuff, even Ford today said they're going to delay their all-electric SUVs because they know. Well, number one, we know what it's going to cost, right? Number two, nobody's going to buy them. Right? People that buy big SUVs, they tend to have larger families and they tend to drive a lot. right? I got to go to football practice and soccer practice and ballet and dance and, soccer and whatever it is. I got to go to band. Whatever. They drive a lot. They don't want to have to, oh, my gosh, I got to go to California. I got to stop 3 times to plug my car in. I don't know how all of this really is. Well, I do know how it's going to work out with a big crash. Remember we were talking about yesterday, right? Bubba Horowitz. Hey, when this bubble's over, and we don't know when, but when it's over, it's got to be 50 to 70% fall in equity prices. That's why you call our friends at Y Refi right now. You get up to 10.25% fixed rate of return, not correlated to the stock market. What does that mean? Well, let's just say the stock market goes down 20%. It's still a huge haircut. You still get 10.25%. Think about it. What a great deal that is. Already, we kind of know, don't we? Man, it's really hard. Maybe the Dow and the S&P, they may be able to go up, 40,000, 41, 42. But does anybody right now really see, hey, stock prices are going to go up another 10% this year and another 10% next year, another 10%? I don't see it. I don't think most people see it. This is a great idea to keep building wealth. Check them out. InvestYRefi.com. That's the word invest, the letter Y, REFY.com. Or just call them at 888-YREFI24. And you got to have at least $50,000. You can use an existing IRA. Some of you can use your 401k. But Jason, it really is. You're starting to see people start talking about what comes after what we've dubbed the year of chaos. And a lot of them are saying, hey, we kind of had equities priced to perfection, and all of a sudden this soft landing where inflation miraculously goes down to 2% and the Fed cuts rates, all that glory, rosy scenario doesn't seem like it's going to play out, does it?
No, it doesn't. And we'll keep watching what happens because it seems like the supply of everything is being restricted.
Right?
If you want to get inflation down, have a glut, have a lot of stuff. But that seems like a purposeful effort to constrain the supply. Which, what does that mean? They're getting ready for the markets to come down too. And so you mop up all the excess right now because they know they're not going to be able to sell any excess when it keeps going higher prices. And when things start to move in the wrong direction, if nobody can buy anything, well, then you won't have a whole bunch of extra oil. You won't have a whole bunch of extra stuff in your warehouse. And the bridge got taken out in Baltimore. Why don't we hear something about building up the ports we got right now? Hey, we can take up those extra. If we just build a little bit of infrastructure, let's just make more ability on these other ports, and then we'll be hardier. Nobody's doing that because I think economically at the top they know what's going to happen. This is a short-lived, massive problem that's coming, and building more ports now would be a loser when the demand crashes, when the markets go down and things get really crazy, and inflation is going to make so people can't buy the stuff anyways. So,
why not another refinery? We're full. Yeah, right there. Yes. We're full. We don't have any more space. But God, you think we'll make some, right? Yeah. Right? If one of these other ports figure out a way. But you don't hear that happening. Jobless claim data today. And I've been doing my 210,000 thing. It was 221, which, oh my gosh, what a big number. No, it's not. It is kind of ridiculous, but okay, 221,000, that's the highest that we've had since January. Challenger Gray and Christmas layoff announcements. Boy, they just don't end. Over 90,000 planned layoffs for the month of March, much higher than expected. Continuing claims still in that 1.8 million range. They really haven't seen a lot of action there. Like I said, the 90,000 planned layoffs, that's the highest since January of 2023. So the highest level of planned layoffs in 15 months, according to Challenger Gray and Christmas. But, Jason, we're just not seeing it show up in the jobs data. Look at yesterday's ADP number. It's really not about the number of jobs. How hot is the wages in those jobs? And it was red hot. We got the government jobs number tomorrow. I'm still thinking, based on what I'm seeing, it's going to be another number over 200,000. Why not, right? Well, I don't see any reason for it not to be. Now, they may be all illegal aliens on temporary work visas, but hey, I think that's probably what we're going to be looking at.
Yeah, that sounds good, Joe. It doesn't seem like the horrible numbers that will be coming are happening. Which does the Fed really want to lower the rates anyways? That's another thing. Does the Fed really want to lower the rates? Are these numbers we're getting, are they correct? Because there's a lot of job losses going on across the country, and I know that there's a musical chairs thing going on, and people have multiple jobs, so you can't get jobless claims for this Thursday number today. But it's just. Even though we're in a growing area here in Colorado, it's just I see the input coming from other parts of the country. It doesn't look good. There's some hurt in parts of the country, and it's just started, Joe. So yeah, you're right. Yep. The jobs numbers will probably be like as you say.
Yeah, and it's interesting in listening to. We've got 7 Fed governors talking today. Jay Powell talked yesterday. But it just seems like, he's calling the recent data. Okay, so think about we've gotten January inflation data. We got February's inflation data. Both said the same thing. Inflation's picking up, but the year-over-year number went down. Well, I guess the last one was flat, right? It was flat year-over-year. And Jay Powell was talking about how that was good news. Yeah, we need to see more good news, right? I'm not ready to tell you when we're going to cut rates, but he keeps saying, to Jason Wood, he keeps saying it. We plan on cutting rates this year. And Jason, this has been what we've been hearing all throughout this process. They haven't raised rates since last summer. We're nowhere near their inflation target, and we're actually starting to get farther away from it. And obviously, with what crude oil keeps doing, look at copper, right? Copper at a multi-year high. Gold's at an all-time record high. You have cocoa and coffee, all-time record highs. You have companies like Ulta. I mean, Ulta, that's where you go, to buy the cheaper cosmetics. They're you don't go to Macy's and Dillard's, right? You go to Ulta. Ulta's like the Walmart of cosmetics. And what are they saying? People aren't coming, right? People aren't coming. Saks, Peloton, they can't pay their bills on time. Right? And then you hear Olive Garden now saying, well, gosh, according to our data, it's amazing how much data they have. How does Olive Garden know how much you make? Well, they do. Right? Unless you're paying cash, you're using your debit or credit card. Believe me, they know. They got your name. They know. And they're saying, hey, all of a sudden, if you're not making $75,000 or more a year, you're not going to Olive Garden. I mean, it's just the new middle class. You can't even go to Olive Garden. You can't get breadsticks? Come on, man.
Not if you got to pay for all this other stuff, right, Joe? You talk about cars, so eventually you have to buy another car, right? I mean, you can fix the old one, but look at the bill that thing causes you. My parents have a refrigerator problem, and they're going to fix it. It seems like a good idea. My dad loves the refrigerator, but $1,200 or $1,100 to fix it, But it's like, well, that's a better idea. I told my mom there's a couple of high-end brands. I watched a whole video. All refrigerators are junk. This guy's he's an appliance expert. He's like, they're all junk. For the last 5 to 10 years, everything that by every company is pretty much junk. You're lucky to get 6 years out of a refrigerator. He compared it to a Kardashian marriage lasts almost as long as a refrigerator nowadays. And yeah, I know. He actually ran the numbers. It was 4.7 years for the Kardashian marriage and 6 years for the refrigerator. But the thing that stuck out was he said, well, there is a couple of brands that make them the way they're supposed to be made, Sub-Zero and Viking. And my mom and I went and looked at the price of a Viking refrigerator, and it was $12,000. $12,000. I was going to say, I know Viking,
that's high end, right? $12,000. What does this refrigerator do? Does it cook the food for you?
You know what I say? You say high end, I say the way they used to make them. How's that? If you want to look at what it really, people used to buy a refrigerator. That was a major purchase, right, Joe? That was hey, I'm going to get a good refrigerator. It's going to last me 20 years. Well, a 20-year refrigerator is going to cost you $10,000, $11,000. And fixing your old one is something to be considered versus buying a new one. This is over and over again. Inflation, Joe. Inflation does this. And inflation, actually, the year-over-year numbers, Joe, they've kind of been flat for the last 9 months. If you go back and look at the year-over-year numbers, it's 3.0, 3.2, 3.7, 3.7, 3.2, 3.1, 3.4, 3.1, and 3.2. I think they've got this thing under the control that they're saying that they want. If they wanted it lower, it'd be lower. They would they'd put the rates higher, and they'd kill this inflation. They want this inflation, Joe. I mean, that's too steady of numbers. What was the last hike? It was July last year. That's right when these numbers just evened off. They would have just went up a couple more hikes. They probably would have killed the inflation.
And that's the thing, right? The fact that they didn't start early enough, and now, when we talk about a weak central bank, they didn't start early enough, and then they ended too soon because they didn't want, right? Why? So we could have Dow 40,000 for what? 6 months? Right? What? So we're going to get 6 more months of good times? That's why? Patriot Radio News Hour. We'll be back after the break. 800-951-0592. Patriot Radio News Hour. Joe and Jason on this Thursday. And we've got the majority of the Fed speakers today, 7 of them. But Jay Powell kind of delivered the big message yesterday. Right now, gold's just kind of hanging out, waiting for all these guys to talk. But I think the message is clear from the Fed. We're giving up on inflation, but we'll definitely cut rates right before the election. And we're just setting ourselves here, $30+ silver. I see that soon, unfortunately. Silver's broken out to the upside here. Gold, Bubba Horowitz, I think he's as good as anybody out there. He's a big commodities trader. $2,500 gold by August. The thing that worried me most, because he made a lot of strong comments yesterday, is what he had to say about the ETFs, the paper stuff. Talking about the lack of availability and doubting that they actually have what they say that they have. And those are alarmist type things, because as we see central banks, listen, another 19 metric tons of gold bought in February, and the number would have been a little higher. One of the stands sold some gold, not a ton, but India, China, and they're the two big buyers. And then there was a handful of countries, they're buying 2 tons, 3 tons, 4 tons, Jason, and it's just unrelenting. And then you end up in a situation where, Bubba Horowitz was saying, hey, one day they're going to wake up and it's not going to be there. Because a lot of the gold and silver they say they have, they really don't have it. And those are things that become worrisome as this demand for physical delivery just doesn't seem to stop, Jason. Even with these high prices, it doesn't seem to stop. Everybody wants the physical stuff.
Yeah, I mean, they're not producing any extra ounces of gold per human versus 50 or 100 or 300 years ago. So the amount of gold per person walking around is essentially the same. And if you do the gold to dollar ratio, gold is $12,600. If you go to the U.S. debt clock, just usdebtclock.org, it says it right there. The amount of ounces of silver per dollar is $1,560. I mean, it's an insane place now because of civilization and because of markets. I don't ever see that happening, catching up to the dollar versus ounce ratio on gold and silver. But Joe, what you're talking about, Bubba Horowitz was talking about, what you're talking about is when things get unhinged, and we were looking at a time when things could get unhinged. I mean, let's just take 1933, after the Fed had just taken control in 1913, ran us through World War I and into a depression. And 20 years later, they had the president, and they controlled FDR. FDR, a horrible president, decided, well, we're bankrupt. He didn't say it out loud, but we're a bankrupt nation. Gold is now illegal. And the next year, suddenly, they almost doubled the price of gold. So right now, Joe, I guess if we decided to do something similar, gold would immediately go from essentially $2,500 to $5,000 instantly. And when you look at that $12,600 gold to dollar ratio, suddenly $5,000 is looking closer to that number, starting to make more sense. The paperization of gold in this country, in the world, if it comes to an end, Joe, if that ever comes to an end, everybody that holds gold is going to feel like either very lucky or feel like a king. It's going to be that simple if that ever happens. And that, unfortunately, that would come with a lot of world turbulence, a lot of, I mean, you're talking wars and famine and craziness if that would happen. But, I mean, I don't know. When it comes to what they're doing, constricting food supplies, constricting oil supplies, monkeying around with the dollar, the Fed doing this, the Fed doing that, creating 15 different ways to shuffle the cards and do a magic trick to tell you everything is all right. At some point, they drop that deck of cards, right, Joe? And then what happens, right? Then what happens to gold and silver?
Yeah,
$5,000 maybe.
That's kind of, that's the thing that worries a lot of people when we talk about the size of debt and what it's going to cost. If there's a full-blown loss of confidence in the U.S. debt market, how do you shore that confidence up? And, obviously gold, don't tell me they're not looking at it. Don't tell me that. How about what the Philadelphia Fed did a few weeks ago? Came out with a research paper. What was it about? It was about, what would be best to get inflation back under control? You know what it was? You know what the answer was? And they knew what the answer was already. Gold. They admitted it. Yes, gosh, if we don't want inflation, you got to go back to gold. And I'm sitting here and I'm telling you, look at what they're doing. Right? The average person now, we're up to 550 cities in the United States where the median price of a home is over $1 million. Right? Over 550 cities where the median price of a home is over $1 million. And yes, they can say, oh, don't worry, the average price of a home is, $375,000. And because you know what? Yes, you're right. If you include homes in Detroit, if you include homes in Baltimore, if you include homes, a trailer park in the middle of nowhere, Oklahoma, then yes. But when the vast majority of people, where do they live? They live around big cities. That's not what the case really is. And now everybody's kind of, Jason, talking about these bubbles. Is the stock market? Of course it is. How do we know that? Because the Fed doesn't want price discovery. That's what Wall Street is. It's price discovery. And the heavy hand of the Fed is the only thing that's really keeping it going. I mean, I can't even believe they're talking about rate cuts. I just can't. Right? I mean, according to them, no one's getting laid off. Everybody's working. The inflation, it's double. Well, it's 50% to double, right? It's anywhere from 50 to 100% more than what they say they want it to be. And the realities are it's double that number. Because whatever they say it is, it's probably double that, right? So if they say it's 3, it's probably 6. And it's somewhere, Jason, between 3 and 4%, depending on which Fed number you want to use. It really is something where I think most Americans, and by design, are not going to reap the benefits. But Jason has it right. You get your gold put away now and just sit back and wait a few years, and you're going to feel like a king. Patriot Radio News Hour. We're going to be back after the break. 800-951-0592. Again, from where we were yesterday on the air to today, right? Gold's up almost another $20. Yesterday, we ran $5 Liberties, right? The quarter ounce, the old quarter ounce, at 640, 20 or more, 635. We actually sold out of them. I got an email about 20 minutes ago. I can do that. Gold's up 20, so that really they should be another $5 higher, right? 645, 640. No, we're going to keep the price from yesterday, and I can do up to 150 of them. So $5 Liberties, 1 through 19, 640, 20 or more, 635. Then I've got 100 $20 Liberties. Right now, $25.20. Yeah, think about that. That's where we're at. You know, keep talking about this. You're not going to be able to buy gold for less than that coming up here. A lot, you know, at $2,500 gold, what are we talking? 28, 2,900. Right now, 1 through 19, 24.95. 20 or more, 24.85. If you want to do 50 or more, 24.75, 800-951-0592. So, Jason, we got something for everybody. You want to get that fractional put away because you may have to use it in the future. We got you covered. If you want to just, hey, I'm a stack in here. I'm going to take, you know what? I'm going to take 50 or 100,000 down today and put it into gold, and I'm going to get the best price per ounce. I'm going to get those $20 gold pieces. You know, it's just what we're looking at here, setting up. This is easily seen by everybody. Look at the debt numbers. They've gotten from ridiculous to, okay, now all of us, now we got problems, right? You have every major institution talking about, we got problems. And that has nothing, we still, you know what, we've even stopped talking about the banks. The commercial real estate disaster just keeps getting worse. And now all of a sudden, the Magnificent Seven, Tesla's kind of fallen out. Now they're wondering about NVIDIA. Is that overpriced? And yeah, you got analysts, some analysts, I don't know that. I hope it's not true. That essentially, hey, Tesla may not be worth the paper it's printed on now because the electric vehicle situation may not be panning out. Get it put away. 800-951-0592. And, you know, Jason, again, this is kind of what we've been talking about. Why do you buy gold? It's a hedge against the dollar. Why do you need to hedge the dollar? Because they just keep printing it like crazy, and now we've got to pay the interest on it.
Yeah, you know, one thing you don't hear a lot about is the used Tesla market. You know, a lot of industries, you have the new part of the market, and then you have the back part, the back sales, the old stuff. Like, you know, you have collectible coins. You have people that buy the new cool coins that the mint makes, and then you have the collectible coin market. And a lot of times, if you just have a bunch of flashy new things, you know, showing up all the time. The U.S. Mint did this for a while. They started minting all these cool coins, and the collectors wanted to buy one of everything, and then just started cranking out so many new products that it just people didn't want to buy it anymore. And then the back issue, the back market for it, people didn't want it. And Tesla with an electric car, I've heard so many bad stories about how you can't sell them. They're not good as a used car sales. And besides all of the economic data that we've been pouring into, Joe, who's going to want to buy the next Tesla if the first one doesn't pan out for you, right? After you've been through the first Tesla, if getting rid of it is not a good experience, well, then your time limit for the Tesla, you know, fad is going to end. It could be a fad, right? The Tesla could be like what is that car from Back to the Future? The
DeLorean? The
DeLorean. Is the Tesla going to be the next DeLorean, you know, except for Tesla actually got some cars out there for sale. I mean, Tesla could be a very dangerous place to have your money, Joe, if people, I mean, here's the thing. Toyota people, which I'm one, they tell you how much they like their Toyotas. I haven't heard a lot of people that have owned a Tesla for X years say, oh, yeah, Tesla's great. Man, I'm going to buy 10 of these things. Right, Joe? I don't see it. So, yeah, be careful when you're speculating on stocks.
Well, I don't know. I know that the Biden administration, with their latest mandate, right, they're trying to force this down everybody's throat right now. But I got tons of friends that have Teslas, and it's usually the same. They have one, right? They have one, and it's more of a kind of like a status symbol. And listen, don't get me wrong. Listen, $4.30 a gallon. Right now, right, they're kind of liking their Tesla right now, right? Obviously they're not going to, drive it out of town. But believe me, I think it's going to. I happen to think it's going to be all right, because I think gas prices. I think gas is going to be a fortune, and they're going to make it so you want to buy these electric vehicles. Instead of, it's not going to be, well, I'm buying it because I want to. I'm buying it because a gallon of gas is $5, $6, $7 a gallon. I mean, it's just that simple.
What's their electric bill?
Yeah,
Oh, come on, there's an expense there. It's energy. Energy costs. You can't get away from it. And what if electricity just suddenly gets really, really expensive? Suddenly, I don't know, Trump becomes president and drill, baby, drill, and gas prices go down to $3 no matter. In an inflated state, it doesn't matter. There won't be inflation if you have tons of something coming in. But wait a minute, the electrical costs, suddenly you can't get around it, Joe. Electric costs go up 3 times. So, yeah, it's give and take, isn't it?
Absolutely. Patriot Radio News Hour, Joe and Jason wrapping up a Thursday. I don't know, where does the time go? We'll be back after the break. 800-951-0592. Joe and Jason on this Thursday. I have this horrible feeling that this may be the pullback today, right? Gold's down $2, $2 right now. Great opportunity. The move from yesterday, we're wiping it away. $5, 1866 to 1907. Both the specials today. These are the Liberty Series. 1866 to 1907. You know what's funny about that time period? Do you know what inflation was during that time? Anybody? How about there wasn't any? Yeah, that's right. That's how it used to be in America. Then they took the gold from you and immediately changed the price from $20 to $35 and then told you you couldn't own it unless it was collectible gold coins. Well, guess what? What's the only collectible gold coins out there? Pre-1933 U.S. minted gold. This is where you want to be. It is the most private way to own it. Ask Lynette Zhang. She'll tell you. It's the most private way to own it. You can buy it, sell it, trade it. You don't have to give out your Social Security number. You don't have to worry about 1099s. You don't have to worry about any of that stuff. Today, $20 gold piece, 1 ounce gold piece. 1 through 19, you're going to save $25 at $24.95. Buy 20 or more, $24.85. Buy 50 or more, $24.75. I mean, you got gold that look like $2,300. What great value. And then, how about the quarter ounce, the $5 Liberty? 1 through 19 at $640. You buy 20 or more, $635 at 800-951-0592. And Jason, I think we're just kind of getting, copper keeps going up every day too now. It's this whole commodities resurgence here. And let's not forget what the survey data said, both on service sector and PMI. Everyone said the same thing. Business is slowing. Prices are going up. And matter of fact, going up the fastest they've gone up since the last time the Fed hiked rates.
Yeah, the pre-82 copper penny is almost back to three times face value. It's almost 3x face value now. So save those 1982 and older copper pennies. It's worth 3 cents a copper. And if they take out the coins and the cash and go to digital only, then you'll be able to melt all that stuff. But yeah, Joe, I mean, we got Bill Roberts coming on the Half Empty Cup of Joe next hour. And he comes on once a month, the first Thursday of the month. And when he was last on, gold was $2,050. Now we're going to talk to him about the cattle industry, I'm sure, and a whole bunch of other things. And gold's at $2,300 just since he's been on the air. Just since he's been on the air.
And just a month's time, it's that quick. And that's what happens, right? Because they want to believe, hey, everything's going to be perfect. Everything's going to be great. Soft landing, inflation goes away. And again, I've told you this for 3 years. You know when inflation's going away? I know when it's going away. Simple. When it crashes. That's it. That's the solution. Why? Why do I say that? Because it's a bubble. They didn't want price discovery. They wanted to print money instead. And now they've printed so much of it, it's out of control. This is simple. If you're new, call us today. Get in, buy a $5 lift. Get started. Tell them you want the special. We'll walk you through. We'll answer all your questions. How about for those of you, hey, I got my money in an IRA, call us. We can help you convert that as well. 800-951-0599.